Welcome back to the deep dive. We're diving deep into deep work this time around. We've got a bunch of excerpts from Cal Newport's Deep Work, rules for focused success in a distracted world.
Mhm.
It seems like a lot of you out there are trying to figure out how to get some focus back, so hopefully we can pull out some good stuff for you. What about you? What jumped out at you from all this?
Yeah, no, for sure. The thing that really got me thinking was this whole idea of the great restructuring, you
Mm.
know? The economy's changing like crazy, and tech is really shaping things up.
Right.
And what's interesting is that in all this chaos, deep work, really being able to focus without getting pulled in a million directions,
Right.
that's becoming more and more important.
So it's becoming more important.
Yeah. You'd think with all this emphasis on being fast and doing a million things at once, deep work would kind of disappear, but it's actually the opposite.
That's kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is. But it makes sense when you think about it. It's all about the quality of your work, right? That kind of work that needs you to really think things through and just focus. That's what makes you stand out.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. But the thing is, my inbox is a nightmare. Meetings all day long,
Yeah.
new software to learn every other week. Like, honestly, where am I supposed to find time for deep work?
Right. And it feels like everyone's all about hustle and being busy all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a big misconception. People think deep work means you gotta, like, become a hermit and run off to a cabin in the woods.
Right.
But, you look at companies like 37 Signals, they tried out a 4-day work week.
Really?
And they found that people didn't get less done. They might have even gotten more done.
Wait a minute. They worked less and things got better.
It's because they got rid of all that shallow work, all those little tasks that eat up your time but don't actually get you anywhere.
Okay, I'm listening.
They made space for their people to, like, really dive deep.
So they focused on the important stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this. So Cal Newport, he's got these 4 rules for how to get good, deep work, right?
Right.
Let's start with the first one. Work deeply.
Right.
I thought this whole depth philosophy thing was really interesting. Like,
Mhm.
you have to actually choose a strategy for how you're going to, make deep work happen.
Yeah.
What about you? Which one made the most sense to you?
Well, each one's got its own good points, but, Cal Newport himself, he uses something called the bimodal philosophy.
Okay.
He actually spends like a whole week at a time in a cabin in Maine, no distractions, just writing.
A whole week. Wow.
Not everyone can just disappear for a week, of course.
Right.
But it shows you how seriously he takes this whole deep work thing, making time for it.
That's hardcore. So there's the monk in a monastery shutting out the world. That's one. Then there's these intense writing retreats. What are the other ones?
You've got the rhythmic philosophy where you build deep work into your schedule regularly. Like maybe you spend the first 2 hours of every day on a deep work task. And then there's the journalistic philosophy where you kind of grab those deep work moments whenever you can, even if you're super busy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
But how do you choose the right philosophy for you? It's got to be different for everybody, right?
absolutely. It depends on, your personality, what kind of work you do. Some people love routine. Some people need to be more flexible. You got to figure out what works best for you.
Okay. I love the part about rituals, like setting the stage for deep work.
Yeah.
It reminded me of, wasn't it Woody Allen? He used to type his jokes on an old typewriter and they go edit them in the shower.
That's right.
That's a pretty good example. It might sound weird, but it makes sense. Having those rituals helps you get away from distractions and just focus.
Absolutely. Like Jung had his Bollingen Tower, his own little retreat. And Adam Grant, he does all his teaching in one semester so he can focus on research the rest of the time.
Smart.
Even just having a dedicated space for deep work, even if it's just a corner of your office, it can tell your brain, okay, it's time to focus now.
Hmm.
It's like you're training your brain, setting up the right environment for focus.
Right. Okay, so rule #2, embrace boredom.
Yeah.
This one, it sounds kind of strange, but I get it. I mean, we got to train our brains to not get distracted all the time, right? Like build up those mental muscles.
Exactly. It's like, you can't just run a marathon without training, right? You got to build up to it. It's the same with concentration. You got to practice.
So, how do you even do that? The world's like one giant distraction.
Right. Well, think about it. Look at Orthodox Jews. They spend like every morning studying religious texts.
Yeah.
That takes serious focus. And they do it every day. It's like a workout for their brains.
So we need to build up our mental endurance,
Exactly.
but HOW. I mean, come on. Everywhere you look, there's something trying to get your attention.
Yeah. Well, Cal Newport, he suggests something called internet blocks.
What's that?
You basically schedule time to completely disconnect. No email, no social media, no internet at all. It gives your brain a break from all the noise.
So like a digital detox, kind of.
Yeah, you could think of it that way. It can be tough at first.
Yeah, that
But there's this thing called attention residue.
attention residue.
Yeah. Basically, every time you switch your focus, a little bit of your attention stays stuck on the last thing you were doing. It's like mental clutter.
Huh.
Makes it harder to really concentrate.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like when you're trying to work on something but keep checking your email and your phone,
Yeah.
you're never really all there.
Exactly. And that's why embracing boredom is so important. You're clearing out all that mental clutter and strengthening your focus muscle.
Okay, that makes sense. You know what else I thought was really cool?
What's that?
This productive meditation idea. Like, instead of spacing out on my commute, I could actually be using that time to think through problems at work.
That's a great point. Cal Newport talks about walking to work and, really using that time to think deeply about his research. It's not about emptying your mind like in regular meditation.
Okay.
It's about actively engaging your mind with a specific problem.
So you're like actively thinking while you're walking.
Right. It can actually help you concentrate better and solve problems more effectively.
Interesting. All right, let's move on to rule #3. Quit social media.
Oh, yeah.
This one, it's a little extreme, but I get it. I mean, I feel that pull towards social media all the time. It's like automatic.
Right. It can be like an addiction.
Huh.
But Cal Newport, he talks about this craftsman approach to tools. You got to be picky about the tools you use in your life and choose the ones that actually help you.
Okay, so not just jumping on every new app or platform that comes along.
Exactly. He uses the example of this farmer, Forrest Pritchard.
Okay.
This guy has a whole system for deciding whether to use a new tool. He asks himself, will this actually make a big difference in the work I'm doing? Will it help me produce something valuable?
So it's all about focusing on the tools that actually matter.
Right. And there's this thing called the law of the vital few. Basically, it says 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts.
Right.
So you got to figure out which 20% of your online activities are actually valuable and get rid of the rest.
That makes sense. And then there's that digital declutter he talks about, that 30-day social media fast. I bet that really makes you realize how much time you spend on those apps.
It does. And even taking a short break from social media can be really eye-opening. Barrington Thurston, this writer and comedian, he unplugged from the internet for 25 days.
Wow, 25 days.
Yes. And you know what? He found that he was less stressed, more present. He even started talking to strangers more.
That's amazing.
Mm.
But I bet it's scary to disconnect like that. What's the big benefit people usually see?
Well, one of the biggest is getting over that fear of missing out. That feeling like you're always behind on what everyone else is doing.
Right, right.
A digital detox helps you break free from that and reconnect with what's actually important to you.
Okay, rule #4. Drain the shallows. This is where it all comes together, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Once you've got the other rules down, you can finally start getting rid of all that busy work that doesn't really matter.
It's about taking control of your time, and your attention. Scheduling every minute of your day might sound crazy, but it's a really powerful way to make sure you're spending time on deep work.
So it's not just about adding more deep work. It's about managing your whole schedule so you can fit it in.
Right. Cal Newport actually tried scheduling his whole day, from the moment he woke up to when he went to bed.
Wow, really? That's a lot of discipline.
It is. But it forced him to be really intentional with his time.
But what about, things that pop up unexpectedly? Life happens.
Of course. Of course. You need to be flexible. But the point is to have a plan so you're not constantly reacting to whatever comes up. Remember that 37 Signals experiment? They actually went a step further. They switched from a 4-day work week to a whole month-long retreat. They basically shut down everything so they could focus on these big, deep work projects.
A whole month?
Yeah.
Seriously, what did they even do for a whole month?
Well, they redesigned their whole customer support system. They built a data visualization system, things that would have taken forever if they were trying to do them while also handling all the day-to-day stuff.
So they got more creative, more productive, just by making that space for deep work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It really shows you how much we've bought into this whole cult of busyness, We think being busy means being productive, but that's not always true. Sometimes you got to slow around to speed up.
Totally. Those tips for dealing with email were great. The sender filter, doing more work in your replies. I need to try those. Email is such a time suck.
Oh, yeah, it's a constant struggle. But those strategies, they're all about taking back control, you know? Like the sender filter, it forces people to think before they email you. They got to prove that their email is actually important enough for you to spend your time on it.
I like that. Instead of just reacting to every email that comes in, you're setting boundaries.
Right. You're respecting your own time and the time of the person who's emailing you. Because deep work, it's all about producing something valuable, right? And that includes communicating effectively.
At the beginning of this deep dive, I had this picture in my head of like some writer holed up in a cabin working on a novel. But deep work, it's so much bigger than that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a way of thinking, a way of working. It can change any job, any career. It's about focusing on what really matters, getting rid of distractions, and putting all your energy into the work that's meaningful to you.
It sounds like a way to do your best work and feel good about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess what we're saying is it's time to reclaim our focus and dive deep.
Absolutely. It might not be easy, but it's worth it. You'll get more done, you'll learn things faster, and you'll feel more satisfied with your work.
We've talked a lot about how deep work can help you in your career, but what about the mental and emotional side of things? Cal Newport says deep work is connected to like a deeper sense of meaning and purpose.
Yeah, he talks about how humans are kind of hardwired for deep work, you know?
Right.
We want to challenge ourselves, learn new things, create something that matters.
Hmm. So it's not just about work, it's about like fulfilling your potential as a person.
Right. Deep work helps us get past all the distractions and connect with something bigger, something more meaningful.
I like that. It's like an antidote to all the overwhelm and distraction we're dealing with these days.
It's a way to take back control of your focus, your time, even your sense of purpose.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. Can you give us like a quick recap? What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Sure. So here are 10 things to remember about deep work. One, it's becoming more and more important in today's world. Two, it's not just for monks or writers, anyone can do it. Three, you need a strategy, a depth philosophy. Four, create rituals to help you focus. Five, learn to embrace boredom. Six, use your downtime for productive meditation. Seven, be careful about the tools you use. Eight, consider taking a break from social media. Nine, get rid of shallow work. 10, take control of your inbox.
There you have it. 10 ways to take back your focus and unlock your potential. Now, here's one last thing to think about. We've been talking about deep work in our jobs, but what if we apply these ideas to our personal lives too?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Right. Like, what if we brought that same deep focus to our hobbies, our relationships, even our personal growth? It could be pretty amazing.
I love that. Lots to think about there.
Well, if you enjoyed this deep dive, let us know. And if you've got some sources you'd like us to explore next, send them our way. Until next time, happy diving.